Hello, welcome to Live Reality Games Podcast. My name is Steven, and I'm back today with more Surviving Reelfoot Season 9 Bluff Ranch content. Today we are here with Ronnie, the runner-up for the most recent season. Ronnie, how are you doing?
I'm good, Steven. How are you?
I'm doing well today. So, it's been a couple of weeks since your game. How have you been doing since then?
Well, the first week, I lost 12 pounds during my experience.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and I've already gained 8 of it back. I was eating like a horse immediately afterwards. Well, not just immediately, but like soon afterwards. We went on vacation last week. I come back to work for a week, and we'd already had a vacation planned. So last week I was off on vacation, but just like I've watched this several other people before, I've been watching a lot of these podcasts because we just can't leave it alone. We really reliving this experience. We've got this great big group chat going that everybody keeps commenting on and just staying in touch. Love these people, really do.
And so it's a vacation from work, but you're still in full post game survivor mode. Then it sounds like.
Yeah. It's hard to get out of it, because it was such an experience, and just thinking back, wow, this happened and this happened, and what if I did this, and
What's been the most interesting or surprising revelation to you that's come out post game?
Well, I don't guess I built the bonds that maybe I thought I did. I think I connected with a lot of people and made some good impressions. But the first 2 or 3 days there, the first 2 days there was great because they let us all, kind of bond together. We all was gathered firework. Everybody was working. Liddy was sick, and bless her heart, she couldn't help it. We kind of thought she was chasing for idols, but I think from listening to her and watching, I think she was just sick and walking down the road, just trying to get away from everybody, just so she wouldn't gross everybody out. So I feel bad about that, that we kind of put a target on her back because everybody thought, well, she's searching for idols. But then you could tell later she was legitimately sick. Busting her hind ends, gathering firewood, not having to talk game, and just bonding right off the bat.
So tell me about your experience with the TV show Survivor. Have you always watched it? Did you get into it recently?
No. It's funny how I got into this, interesting in Survivor. Before Survivor ever started, a friend of mine, I was out with her and her husband, and she is actually a county attorney, and I graduated with both of them. And he was telling us about this great new reality game called, Survivor. It's going to be on the island of Borneo, and he's applied to it. Now, he never got an interview. He never got nothing. But so I started watching it, from the very get-go. And so a lot of these players that I started with, they didn't watch it live. They might have watched it, but, everybody took to, Rudy was the older guy. Of course, we're talking about 20 years ago, so I wasn't that old then, but now looking back, what he did was amazing to do what he did in that first season. But, fast forward, 20 years, how did I get, interested in Reelfoot? I actually know Pete. I'm elected official like Pete is.
I was wondering if that was the connection.
That is the connection. I do know Pete. I'm elected public official. Pete's in Fulton County. I'm in Crittenden County. And so getting back to the 20 years ago, he applied. So I thought, man, that's really neat. I'm going to check into that. So I go on CBS, and we've had 2 people that told, and I think Chris brought that up yesterday about Todd and Mike actually sitting down with Probst, which is really cool. And their stories is amazing. So I check it out. I go on CBS, you got to send in this video. I thought, I could do that, And then I read, if you are an elected public official, you are ineligible to even apply. So it's like the wind went out of my sails. I thought, well, that's my Survivor dream's over. It'll never happen. So we knew from conferences that Pete was going to all these different, experiences. And then, I'd heard him talk about Reelfoot, how it's such a family, it's such a great thing. So me and him was sitting down at a conference one time, and I was just asking him about it. And he said, well, would you be interested in doing that? And I said, well, yeah, so that Reelfoot wasn't going to have a season last year. So this is 2019. So Parker was going to do his own thing, Lone Star. So he sent me a text and said, sign up here. So I sent it and interviewed with Parker, and Parker was going to cast. It was only going to be 4 days. It was going to be like about 3 hours north of Dallas, right on the Oklahoma-Texas line. So I applied, I got it, and then set for June something, some Saturday in June to, 4 days. Well, then COVID hit in March, of 2020. And so we waited. About 2 weeks before the game, he says, guys, we just can't do it. So we're going to move this to August. So he moved it to August. So we wait. I'm thinking, well, they're going to do this, and it got closer to August, and he kept telling people, guys, the game's still on. We've already made reservations, which could be cancelable. So it didn't, wasn't out nothing. So we get really close to, like, I don't know, 8 or 10 days before, I don't remember exactly. Parker, messages and says, hey guys, I'm sorry, but it's just too big a risk, too much going on. And so we got to cancel it. So that's cool. I know it wasn't his fault, so then Pete says, messages me, he says, hey, he said, Reelfoot's going to have a season 9. Says you need to, try for that. So, and I did, and I interviewed with Pete and Parker and Amos, and it went, went really well, I thought. But they put me through the same. I got no advantages from Pete. He put me through the same. Would you? And at the end, right before they cast me, they said, would you be interested in, being an alternate? So we've had over 100 people apply. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm thinking, dang, Pete, I'm 60 years. I'm not 60, but I'm 59 years old. I'll be 60 next week. But I said, yeah, I guess I would. Then they said, oh no, we're going to cast you. So that's kind of how I got into it.
Well, I remember from Lone Star, because I remember Jericho was applying for that.
Yeah, see, we didn't know anybody. They didn't tell us anybody, just like this one. Mm-hmm. Now, found out later that some of the cast that did know through orgs or whatever, and orgs a different thing, because I'd never heard of an org before we started this. I thought, in fact, they was all sitting around talking about org. I played in this org. I played in this org.
Oh my gosh!
And Shane had played in a game called Live to Give, and he had to explain that it's for like charity or something. Mm-hmm. And so I had to ask. I said, at the risk of being dumb, what is an org? They said, well, it's online reality games. So that's how I learned about it online. I didn't even know that existed.
So, one question is, like, if you retire from your elected position, would you then apply for Survivor?
Robbie, I just commented on a thing that Robbie sent earlier. I haven't looked at a lot of the stuff. I don't know. Would they be even interested in an old guy like me? The way I play the game.
Never knows until you try.
Yeah, I know, that's true. I thought about it. I really did. I certainly wouldn't. You can't win the game playing like I play. You have to stab somebody in the back eventually. I didn't want to do that. And if you're playing, the game we played was for fun and for experience. And of course, everybody wanted to win, don't get me wrong. But we're not playing for $1 million. And so, my plan is to retire in December of 2022. Mm-hmm. So December 1st of 22, I'll have enough time to retire. I'm going to do something, but I probably need to get in better shape. But yeah, I might consider it, applying.
So you apply the Reelfoot, you get accepted. How did you prepare for the game? Did you do anything?
My wife's got a membership to the gym, a local gym. So I got on the treadmill some. I umpire a high school girls softball and girls travel ball on weekend, which keeps me active and moving around a lot. So just doing a lot of things like that,
What about your strategy? Did you formulate how you wanted to play or what you wanted to do coming into the game?
Yeah, I mean, basically the strategy I had was I didn't know, but I kind of figured I would be one of the older ones on that played. And I thought that's going to be a target in itself that, hey, let's vote the old guy out right off the bat, But I was fortunate enough to be on Carlton, which only lost one challenge before the merge. And then after the merge, we only lost one. So we only had 2 tribals. So only had to survive 2 votes to make it to the merge. And so, yeah, my strategy was fly under the radar. When we come into the camp, Justin, right off the bat, he's making fire. And I thought, and I'm live on a farm. I can do that. But I'm thinking, well, let this guy do that. I don't want to target on my back jumping too quick saying, well, this guy can do this. This guy can do this. He's really going to be. So I just laid back, let him do it. And of course, Justin said later that was his strategy to make everybody kind of scared of him making fire. So that if there was ever a fire challenge, I don't want to go against Justin. So it's, but just try to bond with people. I did not want to stab anybody in the back. I wanted to just, fly under the radar, try to make as many connections as I could, and last as long as I could. Going in, my goal was, don't be the first one voted out. And then my goal was, try to make the merge, and so you make the jury. And then, of course, once you get there, it's, how far can I go? And just, keep playing it out. I didn't make, I'm looking back. There's several things I think I could have done that might have been, hey, would it have been a good move? But, we'll never know.
So I want to ask you about your job, because you did not tell people initially what your true job was, correct?
Well, correct. I went in, and of course, and it's funny, talking in the meet and greet coming out. I talked a lot with Chris, which he alluded to yesterday, and Chris said, I'm a paralegal. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm thinking, this guy's not a paralegal. There's no way that he's a paralegal. I said, I kind of pegged him for an attorney, just for our conversations, but he insisted he was paralegal. But my strategy was, as an elected public official, I told him, because I didn't want to lie. I didn't want him to come out later that you flat out lied to him. I said, well, I'm a real estate appraiser, which in a sense we appraise real estate. It's just for tax purposes. So I didn't tell him that because, in today's climate, everybody hates politicians, and so if they found out you're a tax assessor, it's like, ooh, we don't like this before they ever get to know who me as a person. They've already got an opinion formed of, well, we don't like this guy. He, regardless of whatever your party is, we don't want to associate with him because he's going to stab you in the back.
Ronnie, I do tax research for a living, so it would have endeared me. You would have found an ally if you came out and say, hey, I do taxes. I'm like, oh my gosh, my people.
Cool.
So the game begins. You have this opening lunch. Talk me through, did anyone make an impression on you? Did you see anyone say, I want to work with you, or see people say you're going to be a problem later on?
Lunch that I didn't eat nothing at. I eat a big breakfast at Waffle House on the way. I get to sleep at home. I was the closest one there. So I drove in, and we had this, meet and greet. Which was really neat. I tried to talk to as many people as I could. The people that kind of stood out was Chris. I had a long conversation with Chris in the meet and greet, and Justin. Found out Justin was from Boston, and I wore my Dodger hat. And I wanted people to see that because I'm a huge baseball fan, and I thought, well, this could be if somebody is a baseball fan, then they'll see that, and maybe we can connect, on that. And Justin was from Boston, and he talked about being a coach, and I thought, this guy's going to like sports, so. The Dodgers' one of their best players is Mookie Betts. So I said, thank you for Mookie Betts. He said, oh, you're very welcome. So it was a cool moment in the meet and greet. But I didn't go around making deals, per se. I've never played this, so I didn't know, because at that time we didn't know who was who.
Yeah.
And Chris was from Philadelphia, so I had a great conversation. He plays softball, which I played for years. I don't play anymore. But I played for years, so I can relate to that, even with an age gap difference. So Amanda come in last, and she kind of sat in our circle, and not in our circle, standing in our circle there. And Carlos was there. Got to talk to Carlos and tried to say hi to everybody there that I could. But those probably stand out: Justin, Chris, and probably Carlos. Carlos from Miami. Everybody was listening to Todd. Todd kind of, everybody was drawn to Todd. Just amazing presence, and he talked. He's from LSU, or close to LSU. He had an LSU shirt on, I think, at one point. Maybe he did that whenever he cut.
So looking at the cast, the cast doesn't skew on the very young side. There's not a lot of young 20s, but you do end up being the oldest competitor there. Is that something that's standing out to you, or you're worrying about the start?
Well, I worried about that before I ever started. Of course, nobody at that time revealed their age. I did find out later, I think Todd's 54.
Yep.
But he was on the opposite team. And Sherry was one of the I mean, I knew Sherry was going to be the older, but old by no means, but was older than the rest of the ladies that was there. On one time on the thing, on one of my interviews, I call the girls on our team girls, and somebody chastised me later when I looked at it. They said, they're not girls, they're ladies. And I'm thinking, these are all, I've got two daughters that are 36 and 32. I call them my girls, so I didn't think nothing about it. So I come back and I told Sherry later, I said, that was something that I shouldn't have said. She said, oh, no, it's all good. So, but as far as the meet and greet, those three probably stood out. Tried to talk to everybody, but, it was kind of like a whirlwind. It's like, in that moment.
So you end up getting divided into tribes, and of the people you mentioned, just ends up being on your tribe. Talk me through your initial impressions of your tribe, or who you're happy to be there with.
Everyone in that bunch was great. I mean, the first thing we did was we ran them right off the start. We won the challenge, which it was money, and I think our group ended up with somebody collected it and we counted it up. It was like $30. So we get to go to the store first. But they only had 7 people that completed the challenge. We found out later after the merge that they had like $60 with 7 people, and we had 30 with 9. So I think they done better, but we did get the better camp. I guess that was our reward for winning, because we had about half the distance. I think more than that. As far as I was the only person during the game that never went to the Rutherford camp.
Are you sad?
Well, Pete took me there afterwards,
Gotcha.
and after the drive that we drove. After the drive there, no, I'm kind of not sad that I didn't make that track, because I didn't want to be prisoner of war one time, because I wanted, especially when they voted Mike out, I wanted to do that. Of course, that was the big thing, is Taylor handed him an idol and he got to stay. Yeah, never made it as prisoner of war. Never draw that orange rock, even though our team was winning most of the time.
Is that something you're disappointed you weren't chosen to do then?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to have done that. To sit in on another tribal council, knowing there's no way nobody's going to write your name down, and you got a potential say in it. That, as it turns out, it doesn't look like any vote that might have swayed it, other than that Mike vote.
Let me double check, because I think the Mike vote was the big one. Amanda caused the tie that happened when she was there. I think those are the two biggest impacts we saw. I think Mike almost caused a flip. He made it like a 1 vote difference. So I think it made an impact overall.
Oh yeah. No, it's definitely a great thing to do. I just wasn't fortunate enough or unfortunate enough, whatever you want to call it, to go. So
by the end of that first night, have you had any good conversations with people? Or is it most people in business getting camp set up?
That first night, I think it was the first night, pretty early in the game, Shane come up to me. And he says, hey, I want to work with you. Let's make a 2, going forward. And this is cool, man. Yeah, pump, I'm 2, me and you at the end, that's great. I'm down with that. So, but really, he's the only one that really approached me like that. As far as I had a good conversation with Mike before the merge, not before the merge, before the swap, and revealed to Mike. Mike was the first one that I told that I was an elected public official. He said, this is cool. Says, your secret's safe with me, and it was, and he told me later, he said that secret was yours to share. It wasn't mine to blow your game up, and he did. And so I eventually did tell everybody before the game was over what I did, and just like at that point, nobody cared. It's like we trust you.
In retrospect, do you think you should have come out at the very beginning and say, "Hey, this is what I do for a living"? Do you think it would have been fine?
No, I don't think it would have been fine. I think it would have put it. I don't know. Who knows? I think it would have put a target on my back early. But once they got to know me, and that was kind of my thinking, let's leave it alone and see what happens.
So the very next day, you have several reward challenges, and your tribe does decent, right? You win the first 2, lose the second 2.
Yeah.
Anything you want to talk about those?
Let's see, the first one we
You
won.
like the SOS challenge.
The SOS challenge was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
We actually, when they told us what we was going to do, they said, okay, so you got a night to strategize. So we all went back and we kind of sat in a little circle and we, what are we going to do? So they said, well, let's go out and let's take all our stuff, and take, whatever clothes you have. Let's, plan this out. Lydia was sick. So Lydia stayed behind. And I don't think she looked for an idol because when we come back, she was laying on the same spot. This girl was legitimately sick. Everybody felt bad for her. But so we thought, well, we made our little circle and we practiced, and we kind of made Kenny the leader of our group as far as the circle because he'd done some kind of marching band thing. So they all let Kenny time us. So everybody had different great ideas. Let's throw out all our clothes and make a big circle. And then Mike come up with, at the end of it, Fresh Prince of Bel Air said at the end, we're going to do this, Carlton. We're going to lay on the ground and do this Carlton dance or something. And it was really cool. So we went in the circle one way and then we went counterclockwise. And then, and that was all great and good. So the next morning, Lydia hadn't practiced with us and she's feeling a lot better. So we want to make her a part of this. So somebody, I don't remember who it was, come up with the idea. It might have been Lydia. I don't remember who'd come up with the idea, but anyway, if she'll stand in the middle and just twirl the flag opposite the way our groups went, and I actually think that's what won the challenge for us. Mm-hmm. We all put our red bags over our head, and all our clothes was in the circle. We all ran around the circle and had tried to make as much color as we could. But the movement is what Colby said done it for him. Is that what got our over the crop circles. And I guarantee you, they put a lot more work into theirs than we did. We put some work into it, but I did it. They doing crop circles. I'm sure they did a lot of work.
Frank is only a little bitter that the effort he put into that didn't pay off. Only a little.
Yeah, but then we get to the sumo challenge that we get beat in the first round. I think you got to go to 9, but everybody goes through the sumo, and we actually win. We're not win, but we're ahead 5-4. Mm-hmm. And I'm the last one of our group to go, and I'm pitted against Aaron, and end up eventually winning, or I don't know if I beat him, but Aaron's a chunk. I mean, I couldn't push him out. And at one point, he's just laying there and trying to wear me down, and he wore me down. But I got him over to the edge, and I would just take a break because it went for a long time. I don't know how long it lasted, but it went for a long time, and I just kept pushing. And finally, one time he was trying to regroup himself, and I think he put his arm or his bag over the edge, and that's how I ended up winning. So I'm glad to win that, but after I got it, I was spent on that. I was like, they was like, okay, now who's going to go up against Todd this time? And it's like, I was laying on the ground. I was like, I need a break here. So, but anyway, after that first 5, we was actually, like I said, we was ahead 5-4, and I think it just after that they won them back to back. I think Mike might have won his, like when Chris charged across there, he did like a Olay move on him, and which was kind of this. I can't remember who it was. Shane, I said, did you see how Carlos charged out like a bull? I said, just step out, let him. They're going to beat themselves. But anyway, I was disappointed to lose that. Then found out that they got sandwiches and I think some chips. So it wasn't as they did get something to eat out of it. I can't even remember what the last reward was that we got beat on.
So by the end of these reward challenges, do you feel like you feel like you're starting to form alliances with anyone else going on right now?
At this time, no. I mean, I just feel like we were a good, solid group of 9. Everybody's happy. If there was game talk coming on, they wasn't coming to me and talk about it because the only person that really did like that was Shane. We're tight, we're good. We're good. And I find out later that he had 2s with everybody. So,
well, do you wish that you had approached anyone to try to start that talk, or? I wish. There was times I probably could have with Amanda and Sarah both. I just didn't. And looking back now, I hadn't played before, and I didn't want
it was hard to put a target on his back because, one time
you don't want to play too hard.
You don't want to play too hard. And late in the game, when it got down to 5 people, I mean, that's why Shane wanted Sarah to go out, because he said, well, Sarah said my name, and kind of put in his mind, put a target on her back, just for even bringing it up to, I can't remember, I think she might have brought it up to Justin, and Justin told her. And, but that's we'll get to that when we get to the final 5.
So at this point, do you have an idea of who your first vote would be? Are you kind of thinking like, well, is it kind of leaning towards Lydia at that point?
It was leading toward Lydia, simply because she wasn't feeling well. And we, if we're going to win challenges, of course, we won our first 2 challenges. We didn't have to make that decision, as long as, and she was a part of those, winning, we won. And then, go ahead.
Talk to me about that first immunity challenge. How was that for you?
But yeah, Lydia was the first immunity challenge. Was the kayak challenge with a water bucket. That was fun. We made, our bunch. I feel like, part of our game was strategy. So every time he said, "We'll give you a few minutes to strategize," and I think somebody else already told it, but before we ever went in, Justin got us all in a group circle the first day there. What are you good at? What are you good at? Well, I'm good at puzzles. I'm not good at puzzles, but I'm saying some of the other people were saying I'm good at this and I'm good at that. And mine is more strength than anything else. I can run, but if I don't have to run, I'd rather not, because I'll get winded. But so we get to the kayak challenge, and we put Kenny on the front, and that was a brilliant move because Kenny killed that water thing. They was actually ahead of us at one time, and then we finally got to the end, and by the time they got their first kayak in the water, I was the 5th kayak of the leg of the kayaks. I was in the water when Frank was, I think, the first one going. And Frank, it was funny. We was so far ahead. The thing that we was going to was over here, and Frank was like drifting toward me. And I kept going more and more to the right. I knew I had plenty of time. I'm thinking, dang, Frank, where are you going? It's like, but he said later he considered ramming me, but didn't because he said, that's the only way we're going to win is to dump your kayak and y'all not be able to get it out. But he didn't. He went on, but he said he didn't because I helped Aaron in the challenge. Aaron, there was a time when Aaron was struggling with their challenge, and I was up there and I was getting ready to get in the water with my kayak, and we're all in line there just waiting. And I hear Aaron, he's going out 4 or 5 feet out in the water, and he says, I'm stuck. And I seen this guy's eyes roll back in his head. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this guy's going to plant face first, and I'm not going to be able to pick him up. And we're going to have a situation here. So just instinct. I mean, I went out there and I grabbed his hand and I helped him back in. And then we were so far ahead, I just started helping him because he was struggling. And they said, well, you can't switch spots. He had to stay to the end. So I just kind of helped him. And at that time, I wasn't thinking, hey, this might put a target on your back. It just instinct kicked in, and I wanted to help the poor guy because, and it ended up, that's what got him, they said, voted out because he did, because they said he volunteered for that spot, which was the hardest spot to be in. I mean, out of those 5 or those 4 water spots, that was the hardest, and even if harder than the kayaks, So we won that challenge. And then we won our second challenge. What was the second challenge? You remember?
I feel like I should know this, but it's escaping me. This is the one where Frank accidentally is it Frank or Chris? Someone accidentally disqualified.
Disqualified. Chris got disqualified on the. And I'm actually sitting this one out because we're one ahead, and they said, well, you got to sit somebody out, and there's going to be a lot of running and a lot of things, and you can't sit out 2 in a row. So. I said, it's raining. It's pouring down raining. So I said, hey, I'll sit this one out. So I went over there and sat on the porch and watched them. And then it never got past Chris because I think Chris got a little frustrated and we won by DQ. And so at this point, we're 9-7 as far as, ahead of them. And we don't have to vote anybody out again. And then, of course, when we lose the third one, then we had to make a hard decision. And it was hard, to cut one like that. I hated it. It's writing somebody's name down that's been there with you, But I didn't want it to be me, and I don't think nobody did. But, if Lydia is not sick that first day, it might be me, who knows?
So before we get to the Lydia vote off, did you have any thoughts of the prisoner of war twist, or when you learned about it and how it worked? Were you worried about it at all?
I wasn't worried about it. I knew it could have the potential of because they're, we didn't go to tribal until the third round, and then they're bringing a person over. But I thought it was a neat twist, something different that we hadn't seen before. So I thought it was a kind of a neat idea to change up the mix a little bit.
So something else I want to talk about before I completely forget about it. Idols. Were you looking for the idol? Was that something you
I was to a certain extent. I think everybody was. At one point early in the game, they brought back, I think it was Skylar brought back a clue from the other team, and she just kind of brought it in front of everybody and said, I'm supposed to give this to somebody who wants it. We're all right there. And I think she ends up kind of laying it down, and Mike looks at it and he says, I've already seen this clue. He says, I've looked in this area and said, if somebody either has it and they're not telling anybody. And so it's 77 paces, which everybody's paces, from the way of the sun, from where the source of your heat. So nobody was sure if it was the heat where we had our fire or the heat of the sun. So it was 77 paces in. So eventually I did learn where the arch was, which totally was not the arch I was looking at. And of course they all, by that time everybody knew the clue. And I'm not sure when Taylor found it, but
the next morning before the swap.
The morning before the swap. I felt like it was still out there because everybody was still looking for it. And if they was looking for it and had it, they was a great actor. But there was a chance for me to get an idol after the first immunity challenge. We had to get it was like a running challenge. You go out there and you pick up a stick.
Yeah.
And there's like 9 sticks.
This is at the merge.
And then yeah. And then there's one less and one less. Well, on the one I went out on, I was looking for a blue disc. It was just, and everybody got a blue disc, but me and Taylor, and there was one left. And we was looking. And I looked underneath. There's 3 tables, and I looked, but I didn't see a blue disc. And I found out later that that's where one of the immunity idols was under one of these tables. And I could have found an idol right off the bat and stuck it in my pocket and had it, it maybe made it some kind of move, give it to somebody, whatever. But I was not looking for that at that point. I was looking for a blue disc, and the blue disc wasn't there.
So hypothetically, let's say you get that idol, right?
Yeah. Are
you looking to cause chaos with it or just ensure your safety?
Probably ensure my safety. At this point, I've made it this far. I'm not going to tell anybody. I say I'm not going to tell him. I don't think I'm going to tell anybody because, but
safer not to. I'll say that much.
Yeah. I think it's safer not to. At least, I would have tried to stuck it in my pocket. And Justin didn't tell it. As far as I know, he didn't tell nobody for a long time. He finally did. I could have got Justin's idol, and who knows what would have happened.
So going back in time a bit, that Lydia vote. Who did you strategize with or talk to a lot during that round?
Well, I think it was a consensus of everybody from what happened. I talked to Shane and Justin mainly, but I think it was just a foregone conclusion that was. And then I found out from I can't remember who, but somebody said that Sarah's name was floated out there. It wasn't floated out to me. But Lydia was the only name I heard, and I went with it. And
so what's interesting is your alliance with Shane and Justin ends up being a real defining part of the season. Is that relationship? And so at this point, it doesn't sound like y'all are super tight, but you're starting to work more with them.
Yeah, and I find out later that they were a lot tighter with each other than they were with me. I guess you say they got to drug me along or whatever. Mm-hmm. But no, it was cool. They're both great guys, gamers. I mean, they played this before, both of them. Mm-hmm. I haven't. I learned a lot, from both of them. Even at my age, you learn. It's always learning, and I enjoy learning. So I've learned a lot about Survivor. Mm-hmm. That makes you appreciate the CBS game even more. And especially this game. This game is so fast paced. Mm-hmm. I mean, you talk about 4 or 5 challenges a day, and you walk back and forth, and then you walk for a tribal. So we're walking, several miles, a day, and I can't imagine. I don't think they do that on CBS. Like Todd was saying, he thinks that 39 days would be easier because you're living on a beach. You got the potential to eat fish. If mm-hmm. if you can catch. We had to eat rice, which.
You mean you weren't hunting rattlesnakes and cooking those?
No, they told us they told us we couldn't kill any of the snakes there, even if we wanted to, for food or any of the animals. They said that's off limits. It was funny that when we was doing the SOS challenge, we actually seen a turkey, and Kitty says, "Ooh, let's catch that! I'm gonna run it down." I'm thinking, I live on a farm and I know how fast turkeys are. I thought, if you catch this dude, you are fast. But no, that was a funny moment. But he was going to run down the turkey.
Talk to me about Kenny. What was your interactions with him like at this point?
Kenny's a great guy, super funny guy. We didn't, talk game, but just listening to him, you could tell he's just a friendly guy. Super fast. Mm-hmm. I kind of wish, I could have, worked more with Kenny than I did. Simply if I could have got tight with somebody, maybe we could. Of course, Kenny went to on the merge swap. We wasn't on the same tribe. Wish since me and Amanda got stuck on the lower end of that. After the swap, we should have really. We did bond. We just didn't really get into the game a lot. Mm-hmm. Other than us, Carlton Strong, and we talked about before when it was 8-6, and we're going, we didn't know they was going to have a swap. We thought we was going back for another challenge. We didn't know. We thought a swap would happen. We didn't know when. Okay, drop your buffs. You're swapping, and I was kind of tickled when I got Carlton because I knew it was a closer camp. And then when I look, we're down 4-3. And I'm thinking, holy crap, our game's over. We're no longer Carlton Strong. They're, they've got the 5-2 over there, so they're looking good. And me and Matt and Taylor, we're going to have to do some scrambling just to stay afloat.
So before the swap, I have a question. So let's say your tribe of eight Carlton members had to go to one more tribal council. Is there a person that you want to vote out, or do you know who would have been voted out?
I don't know who would have been voted out. I probably would have voted for Taylor simply because mm-hmm. she had a hurt leg. Mm-hmm. And find out later she threw my name out a few times. So me and Taylor's good. Taylor's an amazing girl, but I probably would have voted for Taylor. Is who probably I would have because you keep your strap strong. But it turns out Taylor's a challenge beast. I think most people. The
challenge requires any leg strength. She
actually won a challenge on one leg. A physical challenge on one leg, the water bucket challenge, mm-hmm. which I went out on that, and I don't even know how because I don't even think my arm flinched, but boom, it went.
It's sensitive.
It's very sensitive, and I went out on that, and she won that. They stayed for a long time. I can't even remember who was second. Maybe. Was it Amanda that stayed with her?
I feel like it was Amanda or Sarah we were giving her.
They was right there with her. And then they said, okay, now you got to go on one leg, which probably helped Amanda because I think she was doing most of that challenge on one leg to start with. So mm-hmm. that was like, okay, now they got to go on one leg. So it's probably helped her win that. But she won 2 immunity challenges, was huge on our merge team or on our swap team winning a challenge. And she actually put the last block on the 6 block thing to win that, and that was a neat challenge. And so she's a challenge beast. So you have to, if she's there at the end, I'm trying to think of the 7 or 8 that's left there at the end. Could I got one vote against any of those that are left? What if I'd have done this different? Could I've got a vote? I don't know. You'll never know. I'm proud of how my game went. I'm not ashamed to be, and I don't. Nobody wants to be that guy that everybody drags along just because they think they're going to beat you at the end. So I feel like I earned my place by winning the 2 immunities in a row. If I don't win at 4, I'm going home, because I realize at this point that Shane and Taylor are tight. So I'm going home at 4. And Justin and Shane told me at 3. They said, we're tight. We've made a pact, which let me out of my pact with Shane on the 2 that I don't have to pick him no more. Mm-hmm. So they said, we're going to take each other. So I knew I had to win that one. Mm-hmm. And so at least I can say, I earned my place at the end. Now, and then it's out of my hands, and I'm at peace with everybody that voted for Justin. I'm at peace with that. They didn't have to explain it to me. I get it. I get why they picked him. Justin, he earned his way. Somebody told me, they said, well, Justin was voted out, but he earned his way back in, and that you shouldn't count it against him. You shouldn't count it against Lydia. They earned their way back in. They were part of the game. If they make it to the end and they had a better game, then they most definitely should win. And so anyway, that's just my thoughts. But.
So I'm going to backtrack a little bit back to the swap right now.
Okay.
You're a Survivor fan. This is to be a Survivor fan's worst nightmare. You're in a minority in a swap, right? Yeah. What are you doing? How are you going to solve this?
So before the swap, Amanda's got a double vote, an extra vote, and she said even if it's tie, we get it. She gets to vote again. So the extra vote goes to the twice. So even if it's tied, they don't lose that. And we'd all made up our mind that if it was a tie, I was willing to go to rocks. If I'm one of the things, I'm not going to back down. I'll put my name on the line. If I'm not the one, of course, if I'm the one, then you're immune, I guess, if you go to rocks. But I said, I'm a team player. I want Red, to win this thing. And so we had this extra vote. So even though it's for Rutherford, old Rutherford on our new tribe, and 3 of us, Amanda's got this extra vote. And to Amanda's credit, she said before, if whoever has the low numbers, and this is Amanda's advantage, she said, whoever has the low numbers, I'm going to give that to somebody on the other side, so that that y'all can have that to potentially help y'all. Mm-hmm. Well, she kept it because we was on the low end, so she kept that to us. Well, we know there's 2 Carlton, two old Rutherford on the new Rutherford tribe. There's 2 old Rutherford with the 5 of them. So we win the first immunity, so we don't have to worry about this. So they vote off Skylar in 1. There's 6, and so we lose. So we know if one of us, it's going to be 4-4, but one of those 6 players are going to come over and vote.
And by luck of the draw.
By luck of the draw, the only person we didn't want, any of those other 6, we're saying we're good. Any of them, any of those other 5, we're good. Well, who draws the rock? Carlos. And Carlos comes over, and we're like, we're dead. One of us is dead. We don't know who it is. We're all suspecting it's probably me. It's probably me. And I think it. But Todd out of the blue, he had some conflict with Frank at this point from the other side, and he says, "Y'all want to, you've got to make a move. Let's go forward as the 6 strong, and we're going to come together as a group." And I said, yeah, anybody's name but mine, let's vote Frank out, And I think Frank ended up voting for me because he thought that's who they was going to vote for.
You're right.
And I kind of thought that would be the plan. But when Todd come and said, hey, let's vote out Frank, I said, hey, as a show of good faith, if we need to do this again, I'm willing to sacrifice one of our own. I would sacrifice. And at this point, me and Amanda was a little tighter. I said, I'll sacrifice Taylor if you'll sacrifice Frank. Todd got the impression from me that I promised him I would go further. If I did that, I don't remember it, but I didn't think that would help me get further in the game, being with his 6 as opposed to my Carlton. I felt like I could go deeper in the game with my original group that I'd started with. Nothing, you know, and that would have been my move if I stayed with him. I'd have just been following another group, you know. Mm-hmm. So I stuck with my group, and you know, I told them, you know, even before we went, I said, I want to see if Carlton win this thing. That was my goal. You know, if it wasn't me, I wanted to see one red person winning.
So talk to me about these original Rutherfords. You have Sherry, Todd, Chris, and well, Frank was there before you voted him out. You mentioned early on you had great conversations with Chris at the pregame lunch. I mean, were you talking with any of these players a lot?
Well, I mean, they knew. You mean before the merge or before the?
Yeah, before the merge, during the swap.
I mean, Shane. I mean, Frank was an entertainer. Frank was playing to the camera. He was a funny guy. And of course, when Frank comes over, we hated Frank when we was on Carlton. But when he comes over to our side, Frank said, you know, what you seen out there in the game, now you're over here with us. That's different. You know, you're all part of us. We're all a team. And it seemed like a really cool guy. You know, if I'd have been, you know, on the Rutherford to start with, I think Frank would have been a guy I would have been drawn to. And like, even though he's different from me as far as game playing, he's more of a villain. But I get along. I can get along with just about anybody. You know, and I feel like Frank would have been a guy that I could have stood behind, and you know, he would have definitely been a shield, which it cost him because I think he played too hard, too fast. But yeah, I mean, going to the we had a shorter walk, and I showed Chris, you know, hey, you know, we got all these blackberries, you know, going up to the thing. So I showed him how we walked along the side, and we gather 8 or 10. Now there's a lot of red ones. You can't eat the red ones because they make you sick. But there was a lot of black ones that was turning, and there was more turning every day. So I showed Chris, you know, how to, you know, where the blackberries were. So then by then he knew how to do it. You know, so all you got to do is show him, hey, you know. So as we was walking down through there, don't forget the berries. Yeah.
So you end up being able to vote up Frank, right? Amanda still uses her power because I think there's probably some paranoia. Like, are they actually telling us the truth? They're voting up Frank.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you know, when you hear that, you know, we're going to vote out. We're going to go vote out Frank, and Amanda says, "Well, I got this extra vote. Says I'm not going to go down without swinging." I said, "We got to play it, you know, even though we were hoping that's what they do." You know, Carlos is over there. I don't even think Carlos ended up voting for Frank because there was something.
Chris.
Yeah, he didn't vote. So that shows how, I guess, dysfunctional they was compared to us. We was willing to stick together more as a group, and they was willing to, you know, keep slaying and I guess you call it making moves. But at the same time, is it worth making a move if it's going to cost you going out earlier?
Yeah,
you know. So, but yeah, it sucked not to be on the tribe with our other buddies, but at the same time, you know, I was with 2 tough competitors in Amanda and Taylor, and you know, like I said, with those that we kept winning challenges. Like I said, we only lost one. We lost one as the first group, and then after the swap, we lost one. So I only had to sit in 2 tribals as a team. You know,
which
so
is
we
kind
voted out Lydia.
Which is kind of as a player.
The first one we vote out Lydia, and the second one we vote out Frank. So it's like, hey, you know, and then we, you know, now we get down to 10 players, and we find out the twist because they kept voting out, and we get down to 10. I'm thinking, good grief! Even if there's a final 2, that only makes 8 people on the jury. And I was trying to do the math. I said that just don't, you know, make a lot of sense to have 10 people, and then we come up there and they said, oh, we're going to 2 players are coming back. So then it started making more sense.
Before we get to that, right? So what happens after the Frank vote is Carlos jumps ship, joins your tribe, and your tribe wins the next 2 challengers. Means you're watching your old tribe essentially, like that.
Yeah, disintegrate.
They had 2 back-to-back tribal councils.
Yeah.
Were you surprised by anything that happened? Were you surprised to see those people
I was not surprised that Kenny went. Kenny's a great guy, but with the group that was there, I kind of felt like they would probably pick Kenny. Kenny's a great sociable person, really personable. And then when it got to Mike, I mean, you have to give Taylor an Academy Award. She come back of course, after the vote, the prisoner of war leaves, so they don't know who's revealed.
Mm-hmm.
So Taylor comes back to our camp and she goes, it's Mike. She said they're going to vote out Mike. I voted Mike because that's what they told me to do, and said I hated it, but they was all dead set voting for Mike, and just played it up, and we're all eating it up. And then I get to the thing and I see Mike walking and said Justin voted out at the last tribal council. I thought, you got to be kidding me. How did he survive that? And he ended up telling people, I think Taylor had some stipulations that you can't tell anybody that I give it to you. And to his credit, he took it like a champ. Whatever crap he had to take from Justin or whatever, he took it. He took it all just to stay in the game. And he was true to Taylor for that. But Taylor, you got to give her an Academy Award, and that was a huge move on her part. This girl's won 2 challenges, and I'm sure she would have told this later in the game. If she's set in the final 2, how do you not pick her if she's in the final 2?
Yeah,
and she's definitely one of the better players of the season. So kudos to her for that.
So you make the merge, right? But then, like we said, there's this prisoner of war twist where 2 of the 8 players who have been voted out, 2 of them will be coming back in the game. You're looking at those players. Are there any players in particular you wanted to see come back in?
Oh yeah, I mean, I wanted Justin, Lydia, and Kenny, not in any particular order, but I wanted 2 of those, 2 of those 3. And when it got down, when Kenny went out early, I definitely wanted to see Lydia come back. You could see the fire in her eyes that this girl really wanted to play this game. Mm-hmm. She was determined and didn't seem to be sick anymore. So whatever issues she had, she overcome them, and she come back with fire in her eyes. So I really wanted her, and I wanted Justin. I wanted to see Justin because even early when Justin was on our side the first time, we had some good conversations. Justin was the fire king at our camp. He sat by the fire and literally kept the fire going all night long. So definitely wanted to see him come back. And this was the game that they had was tailor-made for Justin to come back. If Justin doesn't win this, after he talked about playing cornhole and he's good at this, he's good at that, if Justin don't win that, he has to stick his head in a gopher hole or something for a month, because this challenge was tailor-made for him to win. And he won it, he won it, and kudos to Lydia for getting back in it. And at that point, it made it 8-4 Carlton, and which was a dream for the Carlton that was left for me, because even if Lydia's not with us, which it turns out she wasn't, we're still ahead 7-5. So, but yeah, I mean, I was tickled to death that both of them got back in it. Nothing against Frank or none of the other guys. But definitely glad that the world was pulling for them, cheering for them.
So walking into the merge, right? What are the players you want to work with the most, or you feel the most comfortable with at this point?
At that point, Mike's back in the game, and like I said, me and Mike had earlier conversations, and really wanted to go deep with Mike. I told Mike I felt like he was the best player on our tribe. It did not from me. It didn't put a target on his back, but I think it did from everybody, because I think everybody's seen what I seen. Mike's a gamer. He knows how to, and then after surviving that vote, that, when Taylor gave him the thing, that really put I'm sure it put a target on his back, because this guy, I can't remember who it was, that this guy's invincible. He's not going anywhere. But I wanted to, and Shane and Justin, we was all, back. Was glad to see Amanda back. Was glad to see Sarah back. Was glad to see them all back. That, we'd all made the merge. We was 8 of us. The only person now that was gone from the original bunch was Kenny. And I hated that, but, we've got the numbers. We don't have to make hard decisions. It's easy, pick them off 1, 2, 3, 4, ever how you get it. Todd can win immunity, but we got an ace in the hole. So, but then they blindside us on that first one and kind of, put a damper on it. But
well, at the Carlos vote, that first vote, like you end up getting your name written down several times. Like, you are the target of the minority at that point. Were you expecting that?
No, I mean, yes and no. I knew they was going to write somebody's name down, and you know, I don't, you know, they picked me for whatever reason. I think they probably picked me. I think Todd targeted me because he was kind of mad at me for not staying with the 6 that he had originally, come to. So, that might have been why they did. But
had Todd, Chris, and Sherry talked a lot to you during the beginning of the merge about you working with them, about
Todd did. Todd, he said, we go strong, 6, and then after, right before the Mike vote, during that vote, Todd comes over to me and he sits down and he says, "We got something going with Mike, and we want to go forward strong." And I just told Todd, I said, "If you have Mike," this is exact words I told him. I said, "If you have Mike, you have me." I said, "I'll go if you pull Mike in, I'll go with you." Well, he left and didn't say anymore. Well, then that comes to find out that they turned on. I guess what they meant was they have something going with Mike. They was going to kick him out. I guess I thought he meant he was going with the group.
So hypothetically, at that merge, right? Mike had just Mike had nearly been voted out, right? He was saved by an idol. If Mike comes to you and says, "Ronnie, Justin, Shane, and Sarah have to go. They wrote my names down. I want to vote Justin. I have the old Rutherford voting Justin. Will you vote with me against Justin?" Would you have gone with Mike?
I would have. Yeah, if Mike come to me, I would have. If Mike come to me, I would have. And I don't think anybody else could have pulled that off. But I was, Mike is, a great player. And if Mike had said that, he would have been the one doing it. And I would, I probably would have, but he didn't, he didn't do that. And so I guess
Was Mike doing any? I know from my understanding, Mike was kind of doing some damage control at the merge. Was he talking to you a lot at the merge and doing that with you?
He knew he didn't have to talk to me to do damage control because, I was tight with Mike from earlier. So I told him whenever I seen him come back and, at the merge, I said, I'm happy that you made this, because we all thought he was gone, when Taylor come back, said, "Well, it's Mike. Mike's gone,"
Well, Mike ends up being that second vote out, right? He ends up being blindsided thanks to Todd's idol. How are you reacting to this as it happens and afterwards?
Well, I'm really kind of pissed because I always sit on the last stump on the back, closest to the where you go vote. And Mike is the one that kind of orchestrated this. We got to split it. We got to flush Todd's idol, and so we're going to go. Guys are going to go Todd, and guys are going to go. Guys are going to go Todd, and girls are going to go Sherry. I think it was, and we think Chris and Lydia is with us. Mike is just determined. And I'm doing the math in my head, and I'm thinking, well, if we're going to flush the idol, we've got to put more votes. We had more votes on Todd, but I said, what if he plays his idol, and they happen to go against us? That puts 4. In my mind, I was thinking. In my mind, it was like fog. But I wish now, hindsight's 20/20. You can always replay something after. But for just a split second, I thought, wow, I need to write Sherry's name down. But if that backfires, and somebody says, well, you messed up because you didn't write Todd's name down, and then here he's staying another round because of you. I'm thinking, so I just didn't. I went with what everybody said, and that's what Mike said. We trust Chris and Lydia to go with us, and it didn't happen.
So by the time Mike goes home, this is day 6, right? And the merge happened day 5. How are you doing physically at this point, with considering the conditions and the food and the sleep and everything?
At the start of the merge?
Yes, the merge is on day 5.
Yeah, I'm pretty. Well, they told you I was laying around. I was trying to conserve my energy because I was exhausted. I wasn't eating the rice. I was running on fumes. I was a little bit dehydrated because at the merge feast, I drank 2 mimosas, a coffee, a Mountain Dew. I couldn't get enough to drink because I was more thirsty than anything. I eat some bacon, just to get some food on my stomach. But I was more thirsty than anything because I was tired of drinking lukewarm water and was not going to eat any more rice. So,
is there any reason why you weren't eating rice?
It just, the bland rice just didn't sit well with me. So they had enough food. We had rice at the end of the thing because we was cooking other things. They had enough rewards. We had popcorn, and they would fix different things. We had somebody won Skippy balls. I mean, everybody was really willing to share. So they sent all that stuff, back.
I feel players are almost sometimes too. We hoard food too much, thinking that we need the food to last a lot longer than it actually does in these games.
Sure, yeah.
So you end up playing a dinosaur at one of these early tribal councils, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, after my name got wrote, was starting to get wrote down, I thought, well, I might be a target. So they had this, and they talked about it. Amos did, and somebody, like a joke, said, well, is a dinosaur an idol? And then everybody laughed, and so I went for it. I said, hey, is the dinosaur an idol? And Amos goes, well, what do you think? And I said, well, he said, you want to play it? And I went up there and I just grabbed it and I said, if this dinosaur is an idol, I want to use it on me. And he goes, and I think they got all chuckle out of it. I kind of did it to be funny, but I didn't really think it was. But I thought, well, you never know. My name could be on the block, and if this actually was, and nobody ever said it, that. So I just went for it, and it didn't work. But it turns out I didn't need it. So.
Well, at the merge, everyone's able to start visiting the supply store, and so you also went and bought stuff, right?
Yeah. So that was the first challenge we went out. I got like $37 in Reelfoot dollars, and so I go the first time, and I'm thirsty, so I see these 4 lemon pack. I thought they was lemonade packets, and they looked lemon shaped, and or they had lemon, nothing else. So I grabbed them, $15, 15 Reelfoot dollars. So what's that? And Taylor had just left the store. We could only go in one at a time. She had just left, and she said, I really wanted this ice popsicle that was $15. So I ended up getting it, and I split it with her. I was trying to do things like that, not stab people in the back, but try to, hey, I'll give you, so I give her half of it, just trying to get in good, as a good gesture. And later on, she paid me back. She did the same thing. She bought bought one and brought it half back to me. And so that was, sweet of her. But yeah. And then the other thing I bought, and it turns out, talking about the lemonade packets, I get back to the camp, and, I've been drinking water. So I tear the top off and I pour one of them into my bottle, and it's dark. It's black. And I look at the packet, and it's Lipton iced tea. I hate iced tea. And I thought, what have you done? You've wasted this thing. So I started drinking on it, and it just was horrible tasting to me. And I ended up giving part of it to Amanda or Sarah, one of them.
I think Shane had it at some point too.
And Shane, Shane might have.
Because I remember
I was giving it to whoever, because.
Tribal council were just like, what's in their water bottles? Because that's not water. We're like, what are they drinking?
I was drinking that Lipton tea, so I ended up giving the other 3 away. I give one to Justin, give one to Amanda, I think, and I might have given one to Shane. I can't remember. Shane could remember. Shane's got a brilliant mind. He could tell you. You didn't do his. I think Naomi did his.
Yeah, Naomi did
his podcast, but Shane has a brilliant mind. He could probably tell you from what happened when we come to the initial meet and greet through the whole thing.
I'm cheating and reading his comments saying, oh yeah, that did happen.
Something we didn't talk about is Ronnie went to the store and bought drink mix to share with me. I did, I told Shane didn't get any money. So I told Shane that if it was something he wanted, I would share it with him, because I felt bad that he didn't get anything. So, but it ended up, I had $7 left. Well, Justin in his thing had $9 to the store. And so we went 2 or 3 times. Nobody ever went because we didn't have enough, because everything's $15 or more. We didn't even think about going in there and trying to haggle with them. So I give my $7 to Justin and said, let's merge it together. At least we got $15. They had $16. So I think he ended up, I can't remember. I know he won a Gatorade. He might have bought a Gatorade at this thing. He brought it back and gave me part of it, which was great. Because anytime we got different fluids anything other than lukewarm water was just a treat, But the Lipton iced tea was not a treat to me.
So we talked a little about day 5. So day 6, the second day of the merge, starts off with Mike going out. Are you is day 6 the day you start feeling not as well?
Actually, yeah. The night before when they first brought over the merge, I was wore out, so I was trying to conserve my energy. So I wasn't sick. I was just I heard somebody say, I can't remember who it was that said I was sick, but I wasn't sick. I was a little dehydrated, from not getting enough fluids and just exhausted mentally and physically. I mean, even it shows, I guess, when I did all my confessionals, I was just like a blubbering crybaby. The emotions that you go through out here.
Well, it sounds like you're just not eating anything, right? Because you only had some bacon at the merge feast, and I love
bacon.
Some bacon
at the merge feast. I had some Skippy balls, and I was literally every tribal. I was walking the side of the thing, out of the path of the thing, eating as many blackberries as I could gather while everybody was walking, just to 5 or 6 blackberries at a time, just to get a little something. And I love blackberries. I have blackberries at home, so I love blackberries. So it was something better than rice, stale rice.
So after Mike goes home, it proceeds to be kind of getting just the old brother members gone, right? Sherry goes out, then Chris goes out, then Todd goes out. Is there anything you want to talk about that? Because that kind of takes us through the rest of that 6 days.
Yeah. So we knew the pecking order. Todd had. Well, it was going to be Todd was going to be the first one to go. Todd kept winning immunities. So after that, it was going to be, after Carlos went, it was going to be Sherry or Chris. And Chris, I can't remember, Sherry or Chris was together, and they come over there and they asked me, they said, and I was trying to get in good with these guys. My game was be sociable, be nice, be friendly. And if you're tight with them, that, maybe at the end, who knows? Maybe, that'll be enough to get you. And you don't stab anybody in the back. So when they asked me, they said, hey, is it me or Sherry? I said, well, it's going to be Sherry. If not Sherry, it's going to be you. Well, Sherry had this walk out of the tribe vote that she could walk out. So I did. I told them the vote, which Shane chastised me for. Like, why did you do that? Well, it's part of my strategy was to tell them I didn't realize they was going to go run back and say, oh, Ronnie told us it was going to be one of you two. That was when we switched the vote to Carlos. On that, the vote before. So Sherry didn't use her walkout vote then. So we switched it to Carlos. They said, okay, we can't do Sherry or Chris, either one, because Ronnie's done bloated up, or whatever. But that was that was why I did it. I didn't realize I forgot for a minute this was Survivor and they was going to tattle on you if you did something.
The winner of my season, I think, to my understanding, told everyone they were going out from the round they went out. She went, she told them, and she said, this is what I'm doing, this is what everyone's doing. And I think people really valued that really forthright connection from her. I think that helped her.
Yeah. And that's what I was trying to do. And Shane said, what are you doing? Why would you do that? I said, well, that's why. I didn't tell him that at the time. I said, that was why I did it. I was trying to make a connection there to both of them. That we knew they was going to sit on the jury, and I didn't know how far I was going to go. I didn't know I was going to at that time, but if I am going to be in the final 2 or 3 or ever how many sits there, I want something to be able to say, hey, I did this for you, which it didn't work because we ended up voting out Carlos that round. But that's why I did. That was this twist of that.
Well, at the Sherry vote, right? This is the vote where you get 5 votes cast against you. It's a narrow vote. It's 5, right?
That did shock me. I didn't realize Chris had a double vote that that they used. It made it really close. Of course, kudos to our Carlton 6 that was left. They stuck with me and voted, Sherry to eventually get Sherry out. But I didn't realize I was going to get that many votes.
Is this a concern to you, the fact that you're having these? This is now it's been 3 votes. 2 of those tribal councils you've caught votes. Are you starting to be worried at all about this?
A little bit, yeah, but I haven't caught any from my guys yet. As it goes on, I start to catch some, and that's when it started to concern me that that somebody was starting to write my name down. I think later on, Amanda did and Justin did. It wasn't ever enough, but it did start to concern me that I wasn't as tight as in my mind I thought I was.
And so Chris and Todd go out. Is there ever a world that you could have ended up working with them?
Only, like I said, only if Mike had come to me and said, "Hey, I really like these guys. I want to make a move with them. Would you be willing to join with me in something?" I think Mike could have talked me into it. I don't know that Justin and Shane wasn't going to, because they already had their thing going. So I knew they wasn't going to jump ship.
Hypothetically, what if Justin and Shane do come to you at this point and say, "Hey, we're going to work with Todd for 1 vote. Are you with us?"
Yeah, probably. If they come to me and say we're going to work with them for 1 vote. I mean, I work with Justin and Shane on just every vote. I mean, I think it's been said that they told me what to vote. But, I listened. The only one I really questioned Shane on was the Sarah vote, which we'll get to that when we get down the line.
Well, at this point, it feels like you're probably getting a lot closer with Shane and Justin, because you've been working pretty a lot with them at this point.
Yeah, more with them than anybody else.
And so you end the day 6 with 7 players left, and it's all original Carlton. It's you have Sarah and Amanda, Shane and Justin, you have Taylor, and you have Lydia.
Yeah, and I knew then at 7, I knew it was going to get hard, because up until this point, we made no decisions. We knew what we was going to do. We was pecking them off one-on-one, and I was really feeling wore out at the end of the day, and that's where it comes in, to mention to me falling on the sword for these guys. I really felt a connection with all of these people, and before they started turning on each other, I mean, we're not playing for $1 million, and I was spent. I mean, I ain't kidding you, but we went to bed that night. I think I went to bed earlier than I ever did, which I had this tree that I laid up against. They called it Ronnie tree and made a big joke about it. But my luxury item was a pillow, and I snore in real life. I snore bad, and I thought, I don't want these people to vote me out because I snore. So I made it a point. I found this tree. It was a perfect tree. So I put my pillow and used my one of my jackets for a headrest. So I propped myself up so I didn't snore like I normally would had I laid, prone, and I would have been, my chainsaw would have been going off all night. They're going, we're not going to listen to this for 7 days,
In retrospect, would you have brought a different lecture item, or that was the perfect?
No, that was the perfect for me, because that tree you couldn't have laid against that tree without something. I could have put clothes, and kind of prop myself up. But that was perfect to use that pillow as an arch at the bottom. And then I had something for my head, and I asked him the next morning, I said, "Did you hear me snoring?" "Oh, no." I said, "You might have a little, but, it wasn't a big deal." And I knew that if I laid flat and, with some, they had, they had tarps and everything laid on the ground. I knew that if I did that, hey, they're going to vote this guy out right off the bat, So
you wake up day 7, you're feeling better?
Yeah, I went to bed that night, and I told him that I might do it, and I get up early actually because I've slept really good, and Justin's got getting the fire going, and first thing, kudos to Justin for every day. How you feel, buddy? How you feel? And I really think this was genuine. I don't think this was gameplay. I really think it was a connection that me and him had, that he really genuinely cared, because he didn't want to see me. And I said, "Man, I feel good." I said, "I slept good." He said, "Do you really?" And he always backed it up with, "Do you really? Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I feel good." He said, "You don't want to lay down?" I said, "No." I said, "I want to go for this thing." I said, "I want to see how far I can take it." I said, "I feel good. I've had a good night's sleep." And, so the first thing we do is right off the bat, we have this reward challenge with our 7. The auction, yeah. And they give us $500. And the first thing was milk and cookies And I knew that's not going to help me milking cookies. And I can't remember what all else, but then they had the scroll that Lydia and Taylor kept bidding. And that was a horrible piece of paper. I didn't bid on it because I didn't want it. I didn't know what it was, but I thought it can't be a huge advantage because they told us that there was like 10 envelopes and said one of them's going to have an X on it. It's going to get your advantage. Every time you bid something, you're going to get an envelope. So it's going to have an X on it, and it's going to be an advantage in the challenge. So I couldn't imagine that this scroll was going to have an advantage that would help anybody that they're going to, reveal. You're going to read this, and so it ended up being, you have to pick somebody, and I know it had to have broke Taylor's heart to pick Lydia. It would have broke my heart. It broke my heart watching her walk down the road. But she, and anyway, and then the next item after she left was the pizza and the Corona beer. So
this is like 8 a.m. too.
I don't know. We don't know what time it is, but I haven't eaten, and they had this Corona beer and this piece of pizza, and before, just as soon as they laid it out there, $100. I said real fast, because some of the people have been I think on the milk and cookies, somebody did 20 and then they went 40. And everybody's saving money. And I'm thinking, why are you saving money? We've only got 500. It's not real dollars, So they, nobody bid against me. So they said, well, you got to eat this here. So I took my time and eat it. And it was getting down, and I seen that Ame had these envelopes, and there was 2 of them left. And I've got $400 in my pocket. So they had this pan, and we don't know what it is. And so I just go $400. I'm thinking, hey, I need another chance at this potential advantage. So I just said $400. It turns out it was a water and a lime. And I thought, when I first seen it, I thought, oh, good grief, it's vodka and a lime. I thought, I don't want that this early in the morning. I was probably going to pour that out, but it ended up being a water, and it was cold water, so I did drink it and sucked on the lime a little bit, which gave me a little flavor. But I ended up being the one getting the X, so I got the advantage. I couldn't tell you which one. I think it actually was the first one, but I don't know for sure. But I thought, I'm not going to take $400 back because there's only 2 envelopes left. And as soon as she gave the last one out, that was the end of the auction. So I felt like that the auction was fixing to end. So I went for it. I got the advantage. It turns out it didn't help me at all. I think it helped me in the sense that I tied for last as it was. If I didn't have that advantage, I would have been last by myself because, they said in fourth, there were 7 of us. So in fourth place was, I don't remember, but I tied for last.
Because this is where immunity is granted after the votes are cast.
After the vote, yeah. And ended up being Shane. Yeah. Shane won this. Shane has got a mind out of this world. This kid can remember anything. I think one of the questions was who was the 5th player for the Rutherford tribe to be called. I think that was one of the questions. That might have been in our reward show. Anyway, he got that right. Who gets that right? Who knows how many? I think he knew 1 through 9 off each team. He actually memorized that. I couldn't have told you that. It didn't. End up losing that.
And so at this vote, right, you end up catching 2 more votes this time. It ends up being 4 votes Lydia, 2 votes you, 1 vote Taylor. That
surprised me. I didn't, and after we walked away, I looked and I thought, what's going on here, guys? Because, I thought it was a slam dunk Lydia, and was it Justin and Amanda that voted for me? They never did explain. Yeah. They never did explain why they threw 2 votes my way, unless they thought that Lydia might have some kind of advantage,
or if she won the challenge.
Or if she won the challenge, that in case she picked somebody else, they wanted a couple votes on somebody, so they picked me. It was after it was over with. I was walking away. I said, "What was that?" And Shane goes, "Oh, we'll explain it to you later." Well, they never did explain it to me. Just kind of went away and forgotten about. But it did kind of bother me. That was the start of going, what is, maybe I am the bottom of this 6,
And so Justin, you knew Justin cast that vote for you?
I did not. No, I didn't know who did it. I know now after looking at the sheet of paper
Gotcha. So it wasn't until post game you knew that Justin did that.
Yeah, it wasn't until post game that I knew that.
If you knew that, would that change anything, knowing that Justin had cast a vote for you?
Yeah, probably would have. Yeah, because I don't think Shane ever did vote for me. So yeah, probably would have changed some things if I'd known that. Shane probably should have told me that.
So after the next challenge, this is the vote where Amanda goes home, and this is kind of, I feel like, the drawing of the sides. The girls, Sarah and Amanda both cast their vote for you, and then,
I knew they was going to.
Yeah, and then Taylor ends up siding with you, Justin, Shane, and voting for Amanda.
Yeah, we was walking and there was four of us, and they said, who.
Well, a comment from Shane. If he knew all he had to do was tell you that Justin voted for you, he would have done that earlier.
I lost my train of thought. Amanda vote. We was all talking, and they said, Amanda needs to be the one, and they said, well, what are we going to tell them? So I told the guys, I said, well, they've been voting me. I said, just tell them it's going to be me. And I actually went to both Amanda and Sarah at some point and said, if you write my name down, there's no hard feelings, that we'll still be friends after the game. And that was me playing the game. I wasn't lying about that. If they did write my name down, it was still, now if Justin and Shane writes my name down, I'm voted out, it would have hurt, and I would have been the one to go. It would have definitely been a blindside, but I did know I was going to get 2 votes. And it turned out I only got 2 votes. And then, of course, Amanda goes, and now looking back, it doesn't hurt so much to write her name down because she did write my name down a couple times. So, in retrospect.
With Amanda going out, you're sitting at the final 5. At one point, is it clicking like, I think I could be there at the very end? I think I can
It started to click. It started to click. I was feeling better at this point because I was starting to get my second win. Like I said, that pizza and beer, even beer at 9 o'clock in the morning, it was something different than stale water. And the pizza was, was cold pizza. But man, when you're not eating nothing in 5 days other than peanut balls and blackberries, that pizza was a home run. Mm-hmm. So we got we're at the final 5, and I was really feeling good.
And so, like, when you're looking at the other competitors, were there any person like, I would like to go to the end with him, or I don't want to go to the end with them? Or did you have any like hard fast like?
No, I mean, even earlier I had talked with Justin. It was just the 3 of us one time, mm-hmm. and we had talked. Of course, finding out now Justin and Shane had a side deal, but we'd all said that we want to be the final 3. So in my mind, it's going to be Amanda at 5. I mean, not Taylor at 5, and then Sarah at 4, and then 3 guys, and then we duke it out. I said, I don't, in front of both of them, I said, I don't want to make any promises past 3. And they said, oh yeah, that's we're good with that. Mm-hmm. Which then I find out when we get to 3 that they'd already made a deal that I was winner or out, so I had to step it up. So, but yeah, I thought at 5 that we was actually going to vote Taylor because we're walking back after the Amanda vote, and of course Taylor's legs hurt, and she's already lagging back, and one of our handlers, I said, can she ride? I think I spoke to Tony mm-hmm. or James, I can't remember who it was, or Michael, and said, can she ride the cart back? And they said, well, you all have to agree to it. And I think we all unanimously said, sure, let her mm-hmm. ride back. There's no point in her, beating her leg down. I mean, if she's still a great challenge person, you don't want to see her tear her leg up any more than it is. So we all said, yeah, let her ride back. So me and Shane and Justin and Sarah are all in this walking group. We're walking back, and Sarah goes, we're all agreement here. It's Taylor, right? And of course, yeah, I'm definitely yes, Taylor. And Justin and Shane, oh yeah, it's So we get back to camp, and nothing to my mind has changed. Mm-hmm. It's Taylor. Well, walking up the track, I kind of walk ahead of everybody because I'm kind of wanting to pace myself to get ahead. So I'm walking ahead, and Shane runs up there, which he ran the whole game. I don't see how the kid keeps running, but he's still full running mode because he run to every vote. So Shane's running, and he says, hey man, we switched to vote if we're going to vote for Sarah. And I said, no, that's a mistake. We can't vote Taylor. Oh, we got to stay strong. Said, Sarah's wrote my name. She's brought my name up to Justin, and that I think that is true that she brought. And I said, so what? She's brought your name up. I said, we've got a thing. We're going to get to the end. What does it matter if she brought your name up? We're not going to go there. We're not going to. And we didn't break that with Taylor. We still went. Yeah. Now, if I get beat at 4, if I don't win immunity on that fire challenge, I'll probably go at 4. But at this time, I'm thinking I'm not. But on the Taylor vote, I did not know that Justin was going to write Taylor's name down. Mm-hmm. I thought that, Shane told me that, we're going to stay strong we want to all stay strong for Taylor. And, and then at 4, then we'll take her out, and stay strong for Taylor because Sarah's wrote my name down. And I said, okay, I'll go. I don't agree with it, but I'll go along with it. And that was the last vote. And I didn't know that Justin was, promised Sarah that he said, I'm not going to write your name down. And I know that I would just wrote Taylor's name.
So you
no matter what, and because I thought it didn't matter. And I didn't want to write, if I wrote Taylor's name down and I was the only one, then I'm going back with these other 4 people. And they're going to definitely vote me out because I went against,
Could you have just lied?
Well, I could have, but they would have figured it out that we know how we voted, but if hindsight's retrospect, I could have done it and then Taylor would have been gone. So then it would have been Sarah. So then now after the game's over, I'm thinking, what if I had wrote Taylor's name down, then it's 2-2, and then it's me and Sarah. What if I side with Sarah because I know the boys have turned against me, and I make if they stick together, I make Sarah do fire with one of them, and she wins it. But then if I'm sitting at the end against Sarah beat me in the Morse code challenge when the head-to-head thing. So can I say that I outplayed Sarah when we're both there? So. Looking back, I'm thinking, would it have been different? Would it have been 9? I might have got I don't even know. I don't even want to go there. I've been told if it was Shane and me that Shane would have won 9-0. And so, if it'd been me and Sarah, or me and Amanda probably would have been, who knows if it was me and Sarah. Sarah played a great game, and it's a great, but she's played these things before. She's like an online, guru. So that, she knows how to interact with people. And like I said, she beat me head to head in a kayak challenge on the Morse code. And I almost got back, because I didn't even really study. We all had on that Morse code thing. We had a thing where we was all studying 6 of them. And I only studied 3 or 4 but it turns out you had to know the whole alphabet, And so when I got back with a kayak, I didn't even stop at the table. I just went on straight up on top of the hill to look because I thought there's no point in me stopping and looking at its board because there's, nothing I can write on it that's going to help. So I just went straight up the hill and she was having trouble figuring it out. And I was just like, I don't know, 10 seconds behind, anyway, but she beat me. So and who knows what would have happened if I'd have done that different, and we'll never know,
I'm looking forward to the second coming of Chaos Ronnie here, like taking new idols, playing them for fun, siding with the minority that cause ties. Like this is
yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, that you think, a nice guy will only get you so far playing the way I did, got me to second place. You have to make, and I told them in the tribal council, I said, if you're looking for somebody that stabbed people in the back, you're not going to vote for me. And apparently that's what everybody looks for. That makes for good drama. It makes for good TV. Nobody wants to see smiling politicians shaking hands and kissing babies. You gotta throw some dirt and some mud.
So Sarah goes out. You're at the Final Four with Taylor. Is your concern at this point with Taylor here, like she could just win this entire thing?
Oh, absolutely. Taylor's won a couple challenges. Everyone she's all the other Rutherford tribe, she's hugged every one of them, and already she's made bonds with everybody. Everybody liked her. She was a really likable kid. And I say kid, I'm 59 and she's 21. So to me, she is a kid. All these guys and girls were. But I thought, and I underestimated how tight that Shane was with Taylor because we had this reward challenge that Shane took me on, but he picked Amanda first. We all got our backs to a circle, and they asked a bunch of questions about who and one that I really liked, they said, who would you trust with your life out of these 5? And I think they all picked me. And I was the one they picked the most anyway. They said, Ronnie, which you can't pick yourself. You have to write somebody else's name down. And the other one they had to wrote down was who was the stinkiest. Amanda just took a shower, and Shane took a shower, which a solar shower, which they got on video, which was a really funny moment when he took the shower. And so I'm thinking, well, it's got to be me. So they said, oh, no, you can't write your own name down. And I said, well, then who do I write down? It's got to be Justin. Well, Justin's been around the smoke, all day. So I ended up writing Sarah's name down, even though I didn't feel like she was the stinkiest. I thought, well, I got to write somebody's name down. And then they said, then the second round, they said, who do you think is the sneakiest? You can write your own name down. So I wrote my name down. So I got that one right. But Shane, I think they said he aced this. So that just shows you the brilliant mind that Shane can figure. He can read people really well, and is a testament to him. And this kid plays a lot of games. He's gonna win some things.
So talk me through the Final Four challenge, because I don't know how you're feeling at this point. Were you predicting in any world that you would have gone through and won the rest of the challenges? No.
I mean, I felt good about every challenge. I'd come close. I hadn't won anything. The block challenge, they were the stack blocks side by side. I come really close. I was at 5, and then they said, okay, now put them down, and now you're going to add a block, which is 6. So I could stack my blocks up there, and I think it was me and Shane. It might have been one other person, but I was trying to get them, together, and I come really close to that. And I was waiting till the very end, because I thought, well, the longer you wait, the better chance you got of holding it longer. So I got it, and I just didn't get it up, And somebody, I think Justin or somebody, I can't remember who all was in that. There was 5 of us, but Shane won that, and so he's got the necklace at 5, and so you're not voting for Shane, yeah, I think I've lost my train of thought. Did I answer?
Talk about this Final Four challenge.
Oh, the Final Four challenge. So at the Final Four challenge, I knew I'm on the bottom. I mean, now that it's Taylor and Justin and Shane are tight, I'm thinking, you're the number 4. You're going out here if you don't step it up. So they let us read, and I think I read it. I think I read it at the here's the tree mail. So I have to have glasses. So let me put the glasses on. Let me read. I think I read it. So anyway, it's talking about water and fire. So we knew there was going to be something with fire, but we couldn't figure out what the water was. What is the water? So they get us there and they explain the challenge. And that you got to stick your head in this bucket, and there's a tube that's going to get a key, and then you're going to get the key, and you're going to unlock the box that's got a twine in it, and you're going to take these sticks that are laying here, tie them together, and take off a key, and you're going to go make fire. So this was a running challenge back and forth to spit the water into the tube. So I'm trying to get as big a gulps as I can, and I knew this is a running challenge, and I knew if I ran this whole thing, I'm going to wear myself out. So I paced myself. I thought, take as big a gulps as you can, and Justin and Shane got through it, quite a bit ahead of me. I mean, I was going into that dead last. Taylor beat me by, I think, 2 spits, 2 water bobs, or what are you going to call them. So so I get mine. So I'm the last one. So I get everything out there, and we're all doing it on the ground. And I get, there's 6 strings. So I know I've measured it out, or I measured out where I could get it with 3 altogether. They give us 4 sticks, but you don't need 4. 3 would be enough. I made sure I wouldn't get over the line, but my stick wasn't stout enough to get all the way across. So one of the handlers said, I'm going to give you all 2 more strings, and I'm going to give it to you in the order that you finished. Have you 2 more strings so that you could make your stick a little tighter. Yep. So I was the last one to get my 2 strings. But when they did that, I noticed Justin. I was on the end, which I wanted to be on one of the other ends, because I thought that's going to be a terrible position in the middle, because you got to work around other people. So I'm on this first end, which was great. And I see Justin get on the table, and they don't say it's illegal. So I take my sticks up there and I start tying them, and it's made it a whole lot easier. So instead of 2, I had 2 strings on each stick, which, and so I added a string on each stick, which made my stick stronger. So when I got that, I measured it out there, and it's perfect. So I get on the key, and I lift it off. Well, I lift it off, and the key falls to the ground. And I'm thinking, oh crap, it's over for me. I'm not going to get it off the ground, but the circle was up. So I at this point my stick's still good. So I make sure I don't go over the line because I don't want to get disqualified. So I lift that up, and I lift it, and when I get it, I thought, I've got this dang thing. So I pull it over, and I grab it, and I take off. And if you could have seen the look on Shane and Justin's face when I had that key running away, it's like their mouth went. I think they stopped, literally just looking at me like, "Oh my gosh, he's ahead of us." So I go there and I unlock it, and then I finally get firing, and the wind is blowing it terrible. And somebody said, you should have put your your body to kind of blow the wind, but I wasn't even. My mind was just brain fog. But anyway, I got enough fire that that got it out. Mm-hmm. And so it was a good moment, and I won that challenge. So that was my Survivor one moment. I had two Survivor moments, but that moment right then when I knew I was going out, and nothing against them guys, it's just the way you play. But I knew I had to win that. And then we get back, and Shane is, I guess he's consoling Taylor, because in my mind it's Taylor, because who wants to sit with Taylor? As it turns out, I didn't have a chance against Shane or Justin, but I really didn't want to sit against Taylor because I thought, dang, she's she would have killed it, and who knows if it had been Taylor and Justin or Taylor and Shane, who knows who would have won that? I'm guessing that's a debate for the jury who they would have voted for. That would have been interesting, but in my mind it had to be Taylor, but just for the boot order, So and she had a long talk with me, and I didn't make her any promises, but I think she knew. I think she knew that unless she could get somebody else, she knew she had to get somebody to go with her. And at that point I was all in with them, even though I knew they didn't tell me at 4 I was going, but I kind of felt like I was going at 4 if I don't win this. So
Taylor ends up going out, and you go to your final immunity challenge. And this is kind of a classic style challenge where it's an endurance challenge. How much you got it? You're holding on to this what seems like a pretty thin piece of string or thin rope.
Really thin.
And that's got to be slippery. And they're putting increasing weights onto this hook that you're essentially pulling down.
Yeah. When I first seen that, I thought, "Yay! I mean, this is one I can win potentially." The first 5 minutes, it's a 5-minute thing. They say hold the hook up. I mean, we could have held that hook up for 24 hours if
How much was in each bag? Like how much was
10 pounds. 10 pounds.
Oh, okay.
So the first 5 minutes was just, and they said, we're not going to stop. There's not going to be breaks. We're just, we're going to at each 5-minute interval, we're going to add 10 pounds. So getting down 10, 9, 8. So they got 2 guys up there. So they lay the first 10 pounds. So we got to go another 5 minutes. And then I think everybody made it through the first 5 minutes.
Yes. It wasn't until like
just
the
fine.
second bag.
Second bag, and then I think Justin goes out. I can't remember how long he lasted, but Justin goes out. And it's me and Shane. And Shane's a young kid. He's less than half my age, and he's still physical. And I'm thinking, I don't know how long he can hang on, but I've got to hang on to this thing. And my hands was sweating. At one point I was like, just going like this because my hands was.
I watched you slowly. You're going closer and closer to the edge to kind of get some leverage on it, right?
Yeah.
As that third or fourth bag's put on there.
Yeah. I can't remember if we lasted the whole third bag. I want to think right at the start of the fourth bag.
I remember it was right after they put the most
recent bag
on that stage.
I think it was right at I've seen Shane slowly, his bag was slowly getting closer to the mat, and I'm thinking, dude, you just got to hold on just a little bit longer, and Shane's, maybe you could, bend this thing. And I think it was right before they put that last bag on. Shane goes, Ronnie, who are you going to take? Who are you going to take? Are you going to take me? I guess he's thinking, if I drop, maybe he could talk me into dropping. And So I didn't give in. I just held it out. I said, I don't know, man. Just keep going. And then,
Would you have made a deal if let's say
No.
like if Shane says, "Hey, Ronnie, you drop and I'll take you to the end," would you have done it?
No.
Okay.
No, I would not have done that. And not that I didn't believe Shane. I wanted to win that challenge.
Mm-hmm.
If I got beat there, I was going home,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew I was going home. And if he'd have said that, I would have said okay, but I would not have dropped in that scenario. I just and that was my second Survivor moment. That probably meant, well, I don't know. It's hard to compare because I knew I felt like I was going out at 4,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew I was going out at 3. I knew.
Well, do you think Justin was taking you, or Justin was always taking?
No, I don't think. I think Justin was always taking. Well, now here's the thing. I think Justin. I let Justin off the hook that he didn't have to make that choice because I think he thought in his mind. He says, him and Shane played a similar type game. He kind of let Shane be more of a shield. He felt like he had a better chance with me. So when I won, that gave Justin a better shot for me to take him over Shane.
I remember Justin was very relieved at not having to make that choice.
Yeah, I think so. I think Justin would have been torn between, do I want to win this thing or do I want to honor my pact with Shane?
Mm-hmm. And so for you, what were the important drivers at the time for why you were taking Justin over Shane?
Why did I pick Justin over Shane? Okay, so early in the game, Shane come to me and like I said, hey, me and you too, and we're tight, we're solid. And I said, yeah, great. I was, all for it, but then over the time, I slowly started to realize that, Shane was a social butterfly. But the main thing it come down to with two things, actually, they duped me on the Sarah vote and I kind of held that against him, that they kind of duped me on that, which Justin did too. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't the main factor, but the main factor, Justin was a campfire beast. And I had, in my mind, I told Mike this, I said, if I get to the end, I want to sit beside the one that in my mind, I would have voted for. Mm-hmm. And nothing against Shane. Shane's a great player, but I would have voted for Justin over Shane. Mm-hmm. And nothing against Shane. Shane played a great game and deserved a shot at, would have deserved a shot to be there just, like I was. But Justin, all during the game would, like I said, he got me banana pudding at one time, which, Shane, more than once made a big joke, hashtag banana pudding. But Justin would come and he would say, are you okay? Or, how are you feeling? You don't look so good. And I feel like that was genuine. I don't think that was part of the game that he was playing. I feel like he really cared. I feel like he did, that he really cared that, he didn't want me to, pass out or, and he always back it up with, are you sure? Are you sure you feel okay? You sure you can go on? And that's basically why, hashtag banana pudding.
We can make it happen.
Yeah, make it happen. But both of them guys are, and then of course, and then we get to the final tribal with Shane and everybody, and then it started to go, downhill.
So, with Final Tribal Council, I don't know how much you want to talk about it right now. Okay, so going in the Final Tribal, who were the jurors you thought you were most likely to get their votes?
Well, then I thought, I thought I might could get Sarah and Amanda. I thought, maybe we had a good enough connection. Mm-hmm. I thought maybe Chris, might throw me a vote. I knew Amanda wasn't going to. I knew Shane wasn't going to. I thought Mike possibly might. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that Sherry had this connection that she said she had later with Shane. I didn't know that at the time. So I'm thinking, it's possible. But now, now that it's over, and they explained it to me and watching it, I get it, and I'm fine with it. I played my game. I didn't stab anybody in the back. Mm-hmm. I'm the oldest person to ever be at the tribal council. Ever how I got there, whether they could took me out.
You made it to the end. That's what
I made it to the
end.
I made it to the end. Outlast is part of it, and I've got that argument. I outlasted. I was there. Outplay. I won 2 immunities. Mm-hmm. And that was as many as anybody else. As far as individual immunity, but I didn't outwit. And that's a big part of it. And it was a big part to the jury that, I got outwitted but I can live with my game because I didn't sacrifice what I set out to do. Would I do it again, differently? Yeah, probably,
Well, let's talk about that. Let's say you somehow travel back in time and you're back at the start of the game, right?
Yeah.
Like, knowing what you know now, how would you have changed your game? What would you have done differently?
Probably a couple things. Like I said, I would probably, if you got a crystal ball and you can look at it, I would probably wrote Sherry's name instead of Todd, so Mike would have still been in the game.
Gotcha.
That would have flipped things. I would have certainly wrote Taylor's name down instead of Sarah's. At 5. Those are two things I definitely would have done. As far as making deals, I probably like I said, there was a time when I was exhausted and they was talking about, well, he's laying around, he's not doing anything. If I don't get some rest, I'm not gonna I'm probably gonna be medevaced out if I keep running around I couldn't be the social butterfly that Shane was, because I physically couldn't keep up. So I was trying to pace myself to make it as far as I did, and then when I got a little bit of food, I got hey. Shane took me on that reward, got me a cheddar hot dog. And I'll talk about that reward. It's a funny story. I don't know how much time we got here. I've almost got 2 hours. We went to this store, and bless Shane's heart, I thank him forever. I owe him, if we go to Brave Stadium, I've got to buy him a beer or whatever, or maybe 10 beers for that one cheddar wurst. But him and Taylor, I got a Diet Dr. Pepper, and him and Taylor, they order these potato logs, and there's like 10 of them in this big packet. They're like $5. There's no way they're going to eat all this stuff, and they end up not eating them. They give me one, and I eat about half of it. That just didn't feel like, we're not, but I didn't eat my cheddar wurst, and I ate my Diet Dr. Pepper. And Taylor had only drunk about half of her Diet Dr. Pepper. And I said, what are you going to do with that? And they said, well, you can't take it back with you. So when you got till you get to the edge of the woods, and I said, well, let me have yours. So she gave me her half of her Diet Dr. Pepper. So I chugged that thing. But that and the pizza helped get me, little strength so that I could pursue.
I will say the secret to those rewards is try to smuggle everything you can. The winner of my season, they went to McDonald's and she smuggled out like ketchup, a pepper shaker, like she saw us smuggle food in her pockets for us. I was impressed how much stuff she stole from the McDonald's.
I never even thought about that. They asked us, we asked them, say, well, can we bring anything? Oh no, you can't bring nothing back to camp. I don't guess it never entered my mind to smuggle stuff back, and I felt bad for Justin and Sarah sitting back there. They couldn't, I thought that was going to put a target on, one of our backs, for sure.
So would you play another game like this?
I told my wife no. Simply, she's, you can't do this. I don't know that. Here's the thing: if I played another game, and depending on who played, if it's like an over 40, like you play softball, if you play an over 50 game, or if you play with players like I did, I'd certainly have to play different. I'd have to make some kind of backstabbing moves. And if you do that, then that puts a target on your back. And if I play a game and I do that and I make a move and I go out pre-merge or I go out 1 or 2 early in the jury, well, now I'm going backwards. I played a game and I finished second when I'm 59 years old. Yeah, I'd like to win. Everybody wants to win. There's 16 other people besides me that wanted to win this thing. But I finished 2. If I played again and I didn't, I'd really be disappointed that, oh my gosh, I might as well stay on top.
I mean, after my first game, I've never done as well since. So I can.
Right.
How is your family and your wife and your family and coworkers? What's their reaction to all this been?
Well, I mean, that was all rooting for me, and they was all, we can't understand why, they didn't, at least some of them didn't vote for you. And I've explained it to them why, and my family and some of my friends, they hated Shane. I mean, Shane went all brutal at the final tribal, and my wife was there at the final tribal, and Shane's going off. And she comes over to me and says, "Oh, I can't, Shane's just a horrible person." I said, "Honey," I said, "this is a game." I said, "That's not the kid I knew for 7 days." And to his credit, Mike told me at the thing, he said, I blew Shane up, said he should never have done that, tried to embarrass you like that. Well, the next day after we got back home, Shane messaged me. We all made friends on Facebook, so we're all keeping in touch. Shane sends me a message. He says, "Man, I'm sorry." He says, and it just shows a credit to him growing up. Said, I was in the moment, and I said, "Hey, I get it," but it meant something to me because I could tell my family to say, "This is not the kid that I knew for 7, 8 days. He was in the moment, and he was kind of hurt that I didn't take him, and probably rightfully so. But it is a game, and I think he understands now that if I take him, he wins. So that's I'm sure that's in the back of his mind. But yeah, he apologized. So me and Shane, we was good, but it meant something for me, for my family to hear it, or see it, So I told him, I said, Shane's not this monster that you thought he was, during that, final. And everybody else was not bad. Even I watched they, at the final thing they said, "Hey, everybody's going to get the votes when you got voted out." So they present all these votes, and I don't get any votes because I was never voted out. And Justin gets the votes when he wins, so I get nothing. All this.
I'll get it's kind of a good problem not to walk home with like 6 votes to your name on it.
Right. So I was never voted off, but at the final tribal, I didn't get 1 vote. So I'll talk about the final. When we're getting ready for the very final thing, it's me and Justin, and they're doing all these awards. And it's been a long day. I mean, I'm wanting it to be over with. I know Justin looks over and he goes, "Man, would they just get to it?" And I'm going, "Yeah, I know what you mean." They're giving these awards, and they give, I think, biggest smile, which is Shane, and biggest villain, which is Frank, and immunity challenge beast, which is Todd. And so I get the sportsmanship award. And when I get that, I'm thinking, "Oh my goodness, I didn't win this." I mean, that's like Miss Congeniality, right? Sportsmanship award. I won Miss Congeniality for Survivor. So I thought, you're not going to win this. You get this award.
Well, I have one fun fact for you.
Okay.
Do you know how many votes you got cast against you this season?
I tried to count it up, 10 or 12.
You came in 4th place with 14. No, with 13 votes. Behind Lydia, Todd, and Carlos.
Yeah, they all didn't make it to the
And so you have votes. They're just scattered with a bunch of different people right now.
Yeah,
because they couldn't get you.
No. So I mean, I've got a few things I can hang my hat on and be proud of. My family's proud of me. I got 3rd fan favorite. Lydia was fan favorite. I think a lot of mine was. I know a lot of people. I had a lot. I'm an elected official from a small town. A lot of people was watching for me. I'm sitting in the vote I got from the
so expect some mail from Frank soon. So you won't feel lonely without him.
Thanks, Frank. Frank's a great guy. And he's not far from Cincinnati. If I get to Cincinnati,
Just send him your address at some point, and he'll be all yours.
Yeah, you bet, buddy. Yeah, well, we'll have a conference. In fact, next summer conference is going to be in Covington, which will probably be in June, and maybe Frank can come up there, and we'll have, maybe we can have a beer together or something.
So after having gone through this whole experience, and as someone who loves watching Survivor, does this change how you think you're going to watch the game?
Oh yeah, definitely a whole lot more respect for these people, and then you watch, and when you watch, you see you can see a lot of these people that are stabbing people behind the back, and you're going, "Oh no, don't take them," But I can see the pecking order. We used the numbers to our advantage. We had a huge, numbers lead, and we used that, and it got our group, to the end. And when Todd talks about the big 7, why didn't I go with that? Would I make second if I go with that? Probably not. I knew I was going to be on the bottom of that, or felt like I was going to be on the bottom of that. And I didn't know, I felt good with my group, and I felt, I wanted to make connections, and just see how far I could go. And when I got to, 5th and 6th, I thought, man, I can keep going, and But getting third fan favorite, I think, was due to a lot that I've got PVAs, 120 other counties. I think a lot of those people was watching because in our conference before we left, I said, "Hey man, watch me, I'm gonna play." Well, the first thing they asked me was, some of them had heard of Survivor, but a lot of them was like, "Was that kind of like Naked and Afraid?" I'm going, "No, we are not taking our clothes off. This is a decent game, so it was funny, but
Strictly PG-13.
Strictly PG, yeah."
Well, I'd like to just throw some final rapid fire questions at you to wrap this up, just to kind of some fun things to the game.
Yeah.
So, what was your favorite challenge?
Probably the two that I won. I mean, obviously,
it's hard not to like those.
Yeah. Probably the favorite one was the first one because it was a 3-part thing. You had to first spit the water, which I'm obviously not a spitter, but I did finish that. And then the sticks, and then the fire, making the fire and winning that. That was huge for me because I had my survival moment. I won that. I didn't have to. There was one thing that I wanted to do is win that. And thinking back, if I had something to do over, I would have probably stayed in longer with the paddle ball and give up because I could have possibly knocked Todd out. I don't know that I could have, but I give up on it. So we'll never know.
Do you have a favorite camp life moment of just stuff happening around camp?
The funny life moment, I'll tell you, this is on Shane. He was getting ready to do his solar shower. He's got these bug bites, which look like chigger bites. He's got them all over it. And he's going to take a shower. And I don't remember if it's Tony or Michael that was filming him. Shane could tell you. But he was like, no, don't film me. We was all laughing because it was a funny moment because Shane was taking he was in his gym shorts. He was, and trying to, clean up a little bit. And they was just, so that was a funny camp life moment there.
What was the lowest moment in the game for you?
The lowest moment was not even at the final tribal. My lowest moment was walking back when I had just wrote Sarah's name down. And I knew then I was on the bottom of these 4. And if I don't do something, if I don't win out, and I didn't know at that point, we didn't know what our challenges were. We didn't know if it was a 2 or a 3. I kind of thought it was a 2 because when you count the holes in the flag or the torches, there was that it would get you down to 2. So we kind of thought it was a 2, but we didn't know. They kept us in the dark. But the lowest moment was when I wrote Sarah, and I felt so horrible about it because. Who knows if I write another name down, I really felt bad because, Sarah's a good person and deserved to go further. Not that she deserved to go any further than Taylor did. Taylor deserved to go far too, but I could have changed that and I didn't. And that was a low point for me.
What was your highest point? What was the best moment out there for you?
Knowing that I was going to sit in the final 2, winning that last challenge that had weight and holding it just long enough to get to the final 2, knowing you was going to be in the final 2 and everything there was out of your hands. If I lose that challenge, then it's, I'm depending on somebody else to take me. And then I don't even have an argument to get there. If I knew they was going to, probably, and then I've only won 1 challenge. So winning that second one, that was the highest point of my game. And it turns out as high as I could go.
Who surprised you the most out there?
Who surprised me most? Taylor. She almost got medevaced, with that sumo challenge, and by her doing what she done, that really surprised me. Lydia didn't surprise me. I was glad to see Lydia get back in the game, simply because I felt like she wanted it so bad. So that really didn't surprise me that she did and played as hard as she did. But if I had to pick a person that surprised me most, I'd have to say Taylor.
Who's one person you wish you had a chance to work with but you didn't?
Probably Kenny. Kenny, me and him was on the same tribe, and he was, a bubbly personality and seemed like he would have been really funny. And I think it would have been really fun if he could have stayed and we could have made. And another one, I guess, would have been Chris. Me and Chris hit it off at the meet and greet. And we talked about sports. We talked about a lot of variety of things. I talked in the meet and greet. I talked with him and with Justin the most. But yeah, I hated that I couldn't. And then, of course, then when they got to the merge, I wasn't going to work with Chris because I'd already was with these other people. But if in a different world, if I'd have been on Rutherford, if he'd have been on our team, it would have been really fun to work with Chris.
Well, Ronnie, I think that's all the questions I have for you. Is there anything else about your game that you want to bring up that we didn't have a chance to get to?
I mean, not that I can think of. Stephen, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. I know this has went long. It looks like you started to say
you're winning. You beat Chris, and that's what matters.
I beat Chris. How about that? I won. And to Pete, Parker, and Amos, for giving us. I mean, they give us the true experience. I mean, from the day one, they give us 2 days to bond, and that probably might be my mistake for not running hard. But like I said, I didn't want to put a target on my back. I wanted to kind of stay under the radar, play the social game, not stab people in the back, and I accomplished that. But I want to thank you for taking the time to do this, and thank those guys. And all the production people are just so great. Like I said, we've got a group chat, and I just, the time of my life, I wouldn't, I'm just glad I done it and glad I got to meet all these neat people, and hopefully they all, think I'm a good enough guy that I deserve to at least at some point, be where I got, if not win, at least, be happy that, at least won a couple. I'm proud that I won a couple of challenges just for my own personal pride. That's something I can hang my hat up. Nobody can take that away from me. So, yeah.
I mean, and I think you were proud that you made it to the end, right? That's
absolutely,
everyone's dreams, and you got it. And
when I left on the Saturday before, I left and told my wife, I said, honey, I don't know what's going to happen. I said, if I don't make the jury, I said, I'll be able to call you. I said, I want to stay all week because I want the experience. They said we could help with games. But I said, if I do make it to the jury part, I won't be able to call you or talk to you, So it was really neat when Michael and Tony would do our videos and our confessionals, that they would say, your wife Tammy says hi, and and my daughter Amber, said, she watched it a lot, and my daughter Megan watched it a lot and was really pulling for me. I was the only one of the whole group that has the grandkids in it. Yeah, thanks, Shane. I was the only person not voted out of the game. Yeah. Like I said, Shane's he's gonna do great things coming up, and when he does, I want to know about it, and I'll definitely root for whoever. If they're, if they was on Bluff Ranch, I'm going to pull for them, in different games. I promise you that. And I told Shane I do want to get to Atlanta. I'm going to buy that. We're going to go to a Braves game, and they don't know who they're playing. If they're playing somebody else, if they're playing the Dodgers, I have to root for the Dodgers. But if they're playing anybody else, I can root for Atlanta with him.
As a Los Angelian, I approve all rooting for the Dodgers.
There you go. Yeah. I'm a huge Dodger fan from Kentucky, which is odd.
I'll take it though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ronnie, again, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your story. Thank you, everyone who's stepped in and listened today or are listening later on a podcast. We have just one more scheduled interview tomorrow at 5:00 Central Time. I'll be talking to Sherry about her game, and that's it for planned Reelfoot coverage. So be there tomorrow if you can, everyone. Ronnie, again, thank you so much, and all of you who listened, have a good rest of your day.
Hey, thanks a lot, Stephen.